art of giving. It is an art when there is a sincerity and purpose as well as the resources themselves to give. Whether it be the personal time that one offers to a cause or the money that allows those to turn straw into gold, the enthusiasm must always be ever present. It is this kind of commitment that creates the necessary momentum to form what we like to call tradition. Carl and Sylvia Tucker were the essence of this type of giving. They exuded a special quality that told everyone that they appreciated the life that they had, and more than anything else, they wanted to share this with the people around them. These ideas of theirs are not to be misconstrued as simple charity. Rather, this pursuit of kindness was always proactive instead of reactive. Sylvia was always at the vanguard of organizing and solicitation, and Carl was her banker both in inspiration as well as in money. This event is a tribute to the wellspring both Sylvia and Carl have created and nurtured. It is to be admired and emulated by the successive generations of Tuckers. It is a tradition that has been handed to us much akin to the tablets Moses received. Carl Tucker was born as Kalman Tucker in Poland in 1895. His family lived 15 miles from Białystok in a rural area where they had a milk farm. Harry and Rachel had 5 children, which Carl was the 4th in line. Carl's mother died when he was at the age of 3. Life was hard for them, but they managed a basic Hebrew education with weekly visits from a rabbi from the city. Carl was known to sleep in the field with the horses at the age of 8 and hitch them up to a wagon in the mornings. He was responsible for hauling the milk to the city and selling it to the townspeople. But this was not to last, since Carl's father had enough foresight to see both the problems brewing in Russia and the enormous opportunity emerging in America. One by one, from the oldest to the youngest, the Tucker family moved to St. Louis. Carl was 14 when it was his turn, and he began his journey with a boat ticket, a train ticket, and the equivalents of $50, 25 for the Russian border guards as he would sneak across at night, and the other 25 for entry into the United States at Ellis Island. He managed to find his way to Hamburg, where he boarded a cargo ship bound for New York. He spent 15 long days in the hold of the ship with a nameplate around his neck. He eventually made it to St. Louis, where he was immediately placed in the 1st grade. However, he was so embarrassed being with the younger kids, he left school after only weeks so that he might go to work. Carl's first job in America was in a cap factory, but he found that he enjoyed that about as much as school. He moved on to a shoe factory where he hammered 6 nails into every shoe sole. Again, he realized he was not accomplishing anything in what was supposed to be the land of opportunity. Carl stumbled upon a job as a delivery boy for the Western Envelope Company and was quickly promoted to a factory position. The company grew and became the Envelope Manufacturing Company through a merger. But Carl wanted to grow even faster, accepting a job at another envelope plant in Chicago. But off again was this envelope vagabond to Kansas City.
I was selling papers in front of the Muehlbach Hotel. Muehlbach Hotel was a very famous hotel in Kansas City. And actually, New Year's night, I was selling papers and used to see the people come in with ladies with their long dresses and the men with the tux. Yeah. Okay. Well, during that time, I said, well, someday I would do the same thing.
It is in Kansas City that Carl met a college-educated salesman, and a partnership agreement was struck to form the first envelope company in Denver in 1919. Carl amassed $600 from the $6 he had been earning a week and invested it along with a loan for $400 from the father of his partner, who was the president of the First National Bank of Central City. With this money, the business was started in a loft owned by Abe Binstock on Arapahoe Street across from Daniels and Fisher's. Their business was successful, and they sought more space and moved into the corner of Spear and Broadway in the old Howard Lorton building. In 1927, a second plant was started in Portland, Oregon, and his partner permanently moved up there to operate the facility in 1931. During these early years, Carl roomed in a boarding house that was operated by the wonderful Mrs. Lindenbaum. She was wonderful in the sense that she allowed Carl room and board with no payment for many months until he could pay for it. His roommates in this building became his friends and the who's who of Denver in the following years. Phil Miller of Miller Stockman, Isidore Hilb of Hilb Frankel, Jack and Hannah Levy of Fashion Bar, Eddie Miller, and A.B. Cowan are but a few who roomed at this breeding ground for the up-and-coming refugees. These were also the leaders of Temple over the years. In 1923, Carl met Sylvia Eisenberg and married her the following year. Together they joined Temple in the year of 1924. She was a whirlwind of energy. Sylvia was a bookend for Carl. She became an excellent ice skater and golfer and complemented sports with an extensive background in the piano. Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue was one of her favorites, and she would play with the same intensity as Gershwin himself would have wanted. Her brother David was a concert violinist of national fame and guided her along with a perfectionism that is necessary to be great at anything. It is from this enthusiasm for life that a writer for the Jewish News in 1945 stated, "Joy for living, joy for giving." Sylvia found in her marriage to Carl a new sport, and that was community work. She pursued it with a vengeance and brought fear into all of those in the community who had avoided giving in the past. As she put it in the article, "I always try to make people feel the joy of giving. It's their cause just as much as mine, though I am the worker. It's a real thrill to give, and the people love to do it if they are sold on the cause." Her key to campaign work was simply enthusiasm. Carl and Sylvia were from completely different backgrounds, and yet they had a terrific relationship because they both had a common thread of being genuinely human. They saw a world around them that thrived only when one would help others in whatever capacity one could. Carl took great pains to make sure he was kind and a gentleman to all those who he came in contact with. He became a legend to his employees for his fairness and concern, and while it might be said that Carl was not overly active in specific community work, one would have a hard time convincing the hundreds of employees at Rockmont that he was delinquent in any way.
When I first came to work in 1950, I found out that my father not only didn't have a secretary, but needed one just to keep up with the loans that he had made to employees. All of these loans were given to employees for buying houses or cars or their personal needs. And I also found out that he had never taken a cent from the company. All of these monies advanced to employees came out of his own pocket.
He was called the boss, but he was more typified as a factory worker that practiced social work on the side. He practiced community work in the trenches as he worked side by side on the machines with everyone in the plant. He never liked office work. He was a fish out of water there. His great salvation was his only son, Richard. He was born in 1929 in Denver and was educated at East High School and the University of Colorado. It was Dick that allowed Carl to pass on his heritage and also the despised office work. But his son would not stay in Carl's shadow and quickly established himself as an able challenger to the names his parents made for themselves. It should be noted that Dick has just been honored by the Mile High United Way as one of its top leaders of this century. His accomplishments in both the business community and in community affairs have led Carl to his only true regret in life. He would have wished for more children like Dick. Part of that wish was answered by Dick's marriage to Charlotte. She, like Sylvia, took to the community with a zeal that has earned her accolades throughout Colorado as well as internationally. The essence of the giving tradition was passed to her, and she responded by redefining it to new levels. She has recently received the Golda Meir Award from the Allied Jewish Federation, and the National Council of Jewish Federations has honored her for her work. With the passing of Sylvia, Lillian has become Carl's new helper in his pursuit for a century of life. She has brought new sunshine into his life and the commitment to help this tradition to pass down both in her family and in Carl's. It is now up to us, the children, to carry on with this fine art of giving. It is our job to carry the banners of tradition into our lives and be prepared to teach them to the next generation. Zach, Brandon, and hopefully others are waiting in the wings.
Grandpa has been the most generous person I've ever known. He has always emphasized how the Lord has been so good to him, and that is why he, in turn, has been so good to others. This family has passed down this belief that one should not take from the community, one should give. And I, in my turn, have realized that belief. Thanks, Grandpa, for opening my eyes and showing me how good it feels to give to others.
Personally, I thank you for the examples of your lives. And I'm grateful that I've chosen this family to be a part of.
Grandpa always wanted to do what's right for his family and friends, in his business, and for the community. Dad, Mom, Lillian, and the rest of our family has also lived by this guiding principle. To me, this quality is what I love about Judaism and what makes me proud to be a Tucker.
I love you, Grandpa Cairo. I love you, Lillian. Grandpa Cairo, you're special. I hope I grow up to be just like you, Grandpa Cairo.